I think these stories we read this week are important to our modern culture, and everyone needs to hear them mostly because of the moral messages behind the stories. They're not the most conventional ways to bring a Christian message to someone, but they're powerful and they work, and their style really catches the reader's attention and makes you really curious about what's going to happen. And the final messages are really strong and reflect um, the different beliefs and maybe some of the attitudes towards issues or the backgrounds of the people writing the stories. Um, I think Flannery's story is beautiful because it shows how anyone can have a revelation with God no matter how you live your life or where you're at. Um, where you're at as a Christian, and it doesn't matter if you're a bad person or if you live a bad life, that revelation is still possible, and God accepts anyone for who they are. And really, kind of, I think the message that the story really gets to me is that she grew up in a rough time, and she had maybe experienced this, or maybe had seen it with the period that she grew up, and that's why she wrote the story. I mean, she wrote the story to get her message across, but I like that. I really think it's beautiful, the message in her story on how people can be really corrupt, really bad in their lives, and God can work in a mysterious way and really bring about change in anyone's life. And I think Tolstoy's story is really strong too in the same sense, and a lot of his stories, he has a strong philosophical background to him, and there's a strong underlying message in a lot of his stories, and that's what makes it beautiful. It shows you harsh realities in the history of the way things used to be, but I mean, pretty much for the same reason I think Flannery's story is beautiful is because Tolstoy's story is, because it just shows you a different way of thinking, a different way at perspective of looking at things that I think is really important that people fail to do these days. The morals of the story are really beautiful in their own way, I think, and it's a lot of the way that I believe. There's things that I believe in my life and my way of thinking, so not like in regards to racism or anything, but just their central theme and message of their story at the end. But yeah, that's why I think these stories are important to our modern culture, and I think everyone needs to hear them just because of the moral messages that are behind the stories.